Hey fam, I was just driving and I had this download in my spirit that, just because you made a decision to get to the finish line, it doesn't mean that you will get to the finish line without distractions, right? And I was just thinking about, when someone is running a marathon, they will get criticisms, they will get cheering, they will get the noise, but if they stopped for every time they got a cheer, if they stop for that, they'll never get to the finish line. If they stop because someone is like, oh, you're running too slow, so and so is ahead of you, they will never get to the finish line. And same with us. We may not be physically running a race, but we are running a race towards something. The Bible also tells us that we have to take off every weight that easily ensnares us and keep our eyes focused on the finish line, just like Jesus Christ kept his eyes focused on the finish line. But if we make a decision to say that every time someone compliments us or every time someone tells you that you're not doing well, you're not going to get to the finish line. But I wanted to just share that. I'm going to just share more on the second part as well. So going back to what I was saying, imagine if Jesus Christ stopped because there were people that were criticizing him. Imagine if he stopped because, they were accusing him of being, the accusations will come. So we have to make a decision and say that this is my goal and this is what I'm going to focus on, just because I receive, claps as well. Because some claps are meant to encourage you. Some claps are meant to discourage you. So you need to have your mind focused to say that just because someone is complimenting me, it doesn't mean that I am doing great according to their standard, because you already have what? An end goal. You already have an assignment. God has already spoken to you about things that you need to do. So before you stop for the claps or for the compliments or for the complaints or for the noise, ask yourself, is this in line with what the Lord has told me to do? So that is very, very, very important, So I hope that blesses you and that encourages you to stay on path, stay on track, and do whatever it is that that God has placed in your heart to do. Lastly, you may be like, some people are like, but Tsipi, I'm used to receiving compliments. Because remember, growing up, like when you take your first step, they cheer you. When you start finishing your meals, they cheer you, right? But as you grow older, you begin to realize that there's a lot of distractions. There's a lot of, not everybody wants you to succeed. When you are younger, your parents will clap for you because they are genuinely happy that you are taking the first step, right? And that's one of the things that I've learned, like as I'm growing up in the Lord. The Bible says, even Jesus says that my sheep hear my voice, and the voice of strangers they do not listen to, right? Usually when there's a clapping that takes place when a child is learning to walk, it's usually by the family, by the close friends. But right now, we are in a season where we have, wolves disguised as sheep. So we should definitely not be relying on the claps. I was just thinking about that when you're younger, we got so trained to being appreciated, to being celebrated. But there are times where you will walk the journey alone, and you won't have to rely on a clap. You will have to rely on, the voice of your Father. And that is why, like, the older I get, the more I realize that the only yes that I need is the yes from God. Like, am I doing an assignment that God has placed in my heart? Or am I doing, something in response to what is in demand? Doesn't make sense. I hope that makes sense. And that does not discourage you from doing what you're supposed to do, but that encourages you to, leaning into the voice of the Father and just saying, Lord, how do you want me to do what I need to do, so that you remain focused on Him and on His clap, not on the crowd. Okay, I'm done.